with so many firearms, especially as you go back and you get into antique firearms and older firearms, or really a lot of new firearms coming out. There's been several times where I'm taking something apart and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I thought I knew what I'm doing, but I don't know what I'm doing because there's such a variety of different ways, and the technology is advancing every year. And it's not just really, as we, this last video we talked about being complacent. It's also really about the same thing when you're not just using a gun as a tool, but repairing that gun or working on that gun or cleaning that gun. There's so many things that you think you know what you're doing.
Yeah. Oh, you would talk about thinking you know what you're doing. I have no clue what I'm doing, and I can prove it because I have seen a million of these, M&P series firearms. And the way these come apart is like many other firearms out there. And so I am to this point where sometimes when I am logging firearms and I need a closer look at something, or before I purchase something that's used and I need a closer look at it, I'll take it apart and inspect it. Oh man, I've seen some gross stuff in guns. Really, really, really gross stuff in guns. So one day I'm taking apart one of these nifty little M&Ps, and maybe it wasn't an M&P, maybe it was some other brand, I think. But I'm putting it back together, and I got to the point where I knew what I was doing. I got it all back in line, and then all of a sudden the gun got stuck, and I could not, for the life of me, figure out what the heck I did wrong on this thing and why it was stuck and why it would not go back together correctly for me. Well, it turns out that the new modification changes on some of these guns put a keyed guide rod in there, the little guide rod spring that goes in there. Let me take this apart one more time. This is the guide rod spring right here, this nifty little piece that's right here. And so this holds your barrel in place in the slide, and this is one of the functioning parts of your firearm. If you turned this, just slightly rotated it, then all of a sudden the gun locks up, and I could not for the life of me figure out how to get that back. And the instructions, so I pulled out the instructions, had the box. I'm like, okay, let's figure this out. I'm looking, the instructions don't say anything about what to do when you put something together backwards. They show you these pictures, they expect that you're reading these, and if you just miss that tiny little place where it looks like it's fully round, or maybe they're recycling an old picture, and all of a sudden it shows that, hey, this one's flat on two sides, and if you don't get that in the right direction, you just have a nice little brick of a firearm. Guns have come back into the store like that when people are disassembling things to clean them. I myself have done this. The fix I found for this was if you were able to put it all back together incorrectly, and then you needed a pair of pliers to just pull it just enough so that the guide rod came out, and you could crank it and turn it until it all went back together, and all it took was that tiny, but then you got plier marks on your little gun, and you're just like, oh man, did I really screw something up bad here? So that's usually...
It's interesting because I've even seen, some firearms, when you let that slide go forward, they will, some firearms will fire when you let that slide go forward, and it's really just a matter of not understanding.
Oh yeah.
What each gun, because as technology changes, and of course technology is very different country to country as well. Thousands and thousands of options out there, many of them old and antique, and that all is going to cause you to really fully understand that gun before you start tinkering.
Yeah, you really, really, really want to know what you're doing. And usually the first rule of the gun store here is don't take it apart. That goes for us on this side of the counter. What'd you do? You took it apart, didn't you? All right, well, so now we're gonna have to figure out how to get it back together. So sometimes it's really, really, really simple. That can be done as simply as, gripping a piece and turning it. Other times it is absolutely not that simple and requires a lot more extra tools and extra hands and some massive compression of springs to get things back right. But,
I have a rule that, and I've had it since I was a little kid, is I won't take apart triggers. I cannot say, I've never, not one single time, successfully put a trigger back together. And I went from I had a little plastic model revolver.
Yeah.
Yeah. That you put together, but I couldn't do that. I destroyed the trigger trying to get it to work. And then you remember the Tyco racetrack?
Yes!
I had to fix that trigger, destroyed it. So it was really around 10 years old that I was like, I'm not doing triggers. I'm just not doing triggers. And to this day, I've not. So.
Well, that's okay. That's the brilliant part is that you don't have to be good at everything.
No. I won't do roofing, plumbing, electrical, or triggers. That's kind of where I'm drawing the line.
Yeah, I just try not to do any gunsmithing whatsoever. But there are times when I have dropped them into baggies and gone, please.
Somebody else fix this.
Someone else fix this, clean this. This is fantastically awful.
Well, I'm really glad we talked about this because it really is. Don't tinker until you know what you're doing. Know what you're doing, and when in doubt, quit cramming it or trying to force it. Just bring it to a gunsmith. Because I've had times where I just can't get something to go back in, whatever that case may be, whether it be getting the slide back on, getting the pin in the side, whatever it is. For whatever reason, I can't get it in, and whenever I start to force it in, I always regret it.
Yeah, there's, you probably aren't the first one to break something. None of us are the first ones to break any of these by any extent of the imagination. Someone else has broken it in worse ways than we can ever do to these. But if you do get stuck, realize that, hey, there are places that you can go and take these. And sometimes we may see the same customer 3, 4, and 5 times with the exact same disassembly problem on the exact same firearm. And we'll go, okay, look, time for a refresher course. So it's just, it may happen over the course of 10 years, once every couple years you take something out and clean it and forget how it goes back together, but that's what we're here for. We'll figure it out for you and make it work.
Well, that's why my mom always said we couldn't have nice things. Well, Maggie, gosh, thank you so much for this. Such a great topic. I'm really glad we talked about this today. Thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah, I'm glad we talked about it too. Your insight's
always so valuable.
I just hope that more people pay attention, or at least put it in their mind, at the front of their mind, to just be a little more thoughtful when they're playing with these things.
That's right.
So. They're still toys.
Well, thank you so much. We always appreciate you.
Heck yeah. Appreciate you, Mark.
Talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.